Thank you for joining us tonight for Township Tuesday. And Jayme's going to be talking about section lines and roads and the rules of the roads. So, you want to take it away, Jayme?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll share my screen here. There we go. Is everyone able to see that?
Well, I
Got
see
it.
it.
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I'll talk about some section lines and some roads quickly. I won't take much of your time today, probably 15, 20 minutes, unless there's a bunch of questions, and I welcome questions. I guess I've gotten some questions about section lines and roads lately regarding maintenance and who has roads and the such. So we'll talk about some section lines and roads. And if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to shoot them to me or Larry, and we'll go from there. So as always, you're gonna see this every time we make a presentation. This presentation is not intended as legal advice, but educational. And if you have any questions, please consult with your entity's attorney for legal counsel as needed. First of all, Century Code Section 240703. In all townships in the state outside the limits of incorporated cities and outside platted town sites, additions, or subdivisions, the congressional section lines are considered public roads open for public travel to the width of 33 feet on each side of the section line or the boundary line. So whether there's a road there or not, every section line in the state of North Dakota, unless it's been closed, or as part of a city or town site addition subdivision, it's open for public travel. For normal travel up to 33 feet on each side of that property boundary. One of the things I've gotten a question about lately is improvement of section lines by the owners. That's on Century Code Section 2407 3.1. And any person that has a surface interest in a parcel of land connected by a section line to another parcel of land, which that person has surface interest, or to a highway, may petition the Board of County Commissioners in an unorganized township or the Board of Township Supervisors in an organized township, in order to be authorized to improve the section line or a portion of that section line for the purpose of travel for agricultural purposes. So if you have a farmer that has some land that is on a section line that wants to get to a highway or wants to get from one piece of the land or from his yard to a land or her yard to a piece of land, they have the authority to petition the township. The township may approve that. You are not required as the township to approve the petition. If there's obstacles or difficult terrain that would make the travel difficult, or if it could cause substantial expense in the future to the township. One thing that you need to make sure that you still own the road, you still own that section line, or have the easement to that section line. I guess you don't own it, but you're responsible to make sure that the roadway is improved to the standards of your township and it's safe. So you must follow the slope standards and make sure that that roadway is safe because you're still in charge of that road. If the petitioner is granted the ability to improve that road, they must do so at their expense. Public roadway may be established to give access to a highway. Section 240706 of the Century Code. And Jason, I think this one kind of covers something that we've spoken about. If there's a tract of land that's sold that's not specifically against the section line, say there's 40 acres sold in the middle of a section or 10 acres sold in the middle of the section, and it's not touching a public road, the owner of that small parcel of property may petition the township to gain access to public roadways from that property. The board doesn't have to grant that petition. If the board doesn't determine that roadway would sufficiently benefit the township or county as a whole.
Are you saying that if you had let's say this, like you said, 10 acres in the middle of a section or a quarter section, and it's not touching a section line, are you saying that the township can grant permission for them to make a road across somebody else's land?
Not necessarily a grant to go across the other land, but the township can build that or the township would be able to build that if someone came forward. There still would have to be easements granted to that other land or from that other land.
I'm confused then. So you're saying they would still have to get an easement from the other landowner,
right?
Crossing somebody else's land.
They're not able to do it without permission from that landowner, correct?
Okay.
Yeah, the township can't force someone else to make that road. No,
that's what I was hoping. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right, next we'll talk about causing damages to roadway or obstructing section lines. So there is section of code, and this comes up quite often. No person may willfully dig up, remove, displace, break, or otherwise injure, destroy any public highway, right of way, or bridge, or any rest area, picnic area, tourist camp, or other improvements, with connection with public highway or any private way laid out by authority of law. So any section line, any township road, a person is prohibited from digging that up without first going to the township and asking permission. That's under chapter 24, section 1201 of the Century Code. So that question comes up again quite often if someone might go up and not talk to the commission about, or the township about, putting a culvert in a township right away or township road. They're actually required before they dig up that roadway to speak with the township and get permission to do that. We've had when I was state's attorney in Nelson County, we had a couple families that fought all the time, and we did have a situation. I guess the next bullet point: no person may obstruct the section line by plowing so as to obstruct the travel. That's 24-1202. And that's in the situation up in Nelson County when I was state's attorney there. We had families that feuded. And the one family would go in with a ripper every fall right before harvest, and it was usually wet, dig a section line up, and you couldn't travel it. The dirt clumps were the size of basketballs. So it required the farmer to either drive down it with a tractor until it leveled out, or else he would have to go around on some bad trails. But the law actually doesn't allow that to happen. Again, that's covered under 24-1202.
So under that 1202, can you farm the section line?
You can farm a section line. But caveat emptor, if someone runs down your property or someone runs down your crop within that statutory 66 feet, you don't have any recourse. Okay. So if you plant wheat right up to the section line or to the boundary line, and I farm, we do that all the time. I guess our neighbors do it all the time. And if someone drives down it, I guess that's just the risk that we take, but it keeps the weeds down on that section line as well. I guess that's kind of been our mentality, is that it just works a lot better. And sometimes people drive down it, and I guess it is what it is.
So what are the penalties that townships can assess if somebody plows out the trail?
Well, it actually, I guess I would go to law enforcement and go to the state's attorney. It is actually Class B misdemeanor to obstruct the section line. So it is punishable. It's punishable by a crime, actually. You could, if it's so bad that you can't drive down it, you could hire the blade, bill that bill that property owner, and if they didn't pay, likely be able to assess it to their taxes and probably get by that way as well.
So like ditch mowing, do you have to go through the work of sending certified or sending letters and everything before you can do all that?
Yes, yeah. If you're gonna do any work, I guess what I have advised in the past is to give them notice that you're going to be doing that work and allow them to fix it. Either give them 10 or 15 days or 30 days, whatever you choose, to fix the obstructed road, and let them know that if they don't fix it, you're going to come in and fix it, and you're going to either bill it to them, and if they don't pay the bill, it's going to be assessed to their taxes.
Situation in our township. We have one landowner doesn't want anybody driving on the section line, so he's put a row of steel fence posts across the section line. Would that fall under this 24-1201 or 02?
24-1202, it would. You can't place a fence without permission of the township officer, township board, or the county commission. You can't place an obstruction across a section line.
So,
and again, that's punishable by a misdemeanor. There's a case, it occurred down in Stutzman County, probably in about 2013, 14, and I didn't get a chance to look that case up today. But a farmer actually pushed a rock into a section line. And he had been doing it for many years, I believe, and actually during a pursuit of a hunter, a game warden struck the rock and did quite a bit of damage to a pickup. And he was charged criminally with that case. And I do believe that case went up to the Supreme Court, but I don't recall what the Supreme Court did in that situation. But yeah, I think actually in the statute itself, 24-1202 or 24-1203, it actually speaks specifically about prohibiting fences from being built across the section line.
okay.
Also, along with the failure to obstruct or obstructing, willfully or knowingly obstructing or plowing up a right of way, I would also make that synonymous with failure to remove trees. I know there's quite a few times where trees grow up in the right of way, and people don't take care of them when they block the roads or block snow. In those situations, I would try to work with the landowner. I think a lot of times they probably split the costs, or it's cost prohibitive. The township does take them down. But if it's my advice to you guys as township officers would be to take a look at your roads when you're out checking roads, and if there's situations where there's trees growing, and get in contact with the landowner and try to work with them so you don't have some situations where you have trees that grow up to be big and impact the snow or the travel on that road. The next bullet point talks exactly about the question we had. No person may place a fence across the section line without permission from the township. No other obstruction also may be placed in a section line to obstruct normal travel. Now, the statute talks about permanent obstruction. A fence is considered a permanent obstruction. If you park a vehicle or a piece of equipment there, that can be moved. So the statute is silent on it, and I would say that a vehicle or a piece of equipment that can be moved wouldn't be a permanent obstruction.
On the fence, are you talking across the section line or along the section line?
Both. So that's 33 feet on each side of the property line has to be open for travel.
Okay, so if I put a 66-foot gate at the end of the section line, I'm fine. People are going to open up, drive down the section line.
My argument, and I think there's a case about this, and I'll have to look it up, that a gate across a section line would be prohibited.
Really?
I would disagree with that because it can be open. If it's fenced solid, then it is prohibited. We had that problem this spring with a neighbor here. And, we had to send a letter to them telling them to remove it and to replace the gate. Because, because
I'll do
one
some
side was
checking.
farm ground and the other side was pasture ground. So it only had one gate or
Okay.
one fence line.
I'll do some checking, but my argument would be that you either have to have a cattle crossing or no gate. Because it restricts open travel from people. Like I said, a section line is open to everybody, not just the landowner, or not just the adjacent landowners. A section line should be open to everybody. Um, there could be potential liability issues if someone comes through an intersection and there's a gate there and they damage their vehicle or hurt themselves. So my argument would be that even a gate couldn't be placed across unless it's just a cattle crossing.
But by state laws, if you put a cattle guard on there, you have to put a gate right beside that cattle guard in case somebody doesn't want to go over the cattle guard or is too heavy to go over the cattle guard.
I'm going to take a look at that and I'll get back to you guys. And I'll let Larry talk after I get done presenting. I'm going to take a look at that and see if I can find the answer. But my argument would be that you shouldn't have to open a gate up if you want to travel down a section line. It's open to travel for everybody, and you shouldn't have to stop and open a gate up. We'll go next to closing section lines. That's under 240703 of the Century Code. There's not a lot of places that like to close section lines, and I understand why. It kind of causes a waterfall effect. If someone closes a section line, then it seems like there's a pile of more petitions. But section lines may be closed by the county commissioner. In order to do so, the petitioner, who is an owner of adjoining land, must submit a petition to the county commission. The county commission must have a public hearing on that petition, and the commission must make a couple findings. One of the findings is that it's a public benefit to close a section line. The public benefit is not really defined in the state. It may be safety or inability to afford to maintain a roadway or an unsafe roadway. They also must find that the section line either hasn't been traveled in 10 or more years, it's difficult to travel because of obstacles or terrain. It may be intersected by an interstate highway, or it's not required because of a readily available alternative route. The township or county may close a road. Closing the road does not close the section line. And we just kind of have this situation. I was just contacted about a situation in Nelson County. There was a bridge crossing the Cheyenne River, and the bridge hasn't been there, I don't know, for 15, 20 years. The road's been closed, but people use that section line to access the river, to kayak and to fish. The guy that is a landowner has a pasture on both sides and is looking to have the commission close that section line. No one travels it. No one uses it for vehicle travel, but they do travel down to the river. So the road has been closed, but the section line still isn't open because people walk down there and walk with kayaks and walk to fish. So that's in the process in Nelson County right now, and it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that one plays out. But just because a road is closed, it does not mean that the section line is closed.
If you close the road or the section line, I understand, is it closed to everyone?
If you close the road, it's not closed to everyone. It's closed in that situation. It's closed to vehicle travel. But it's not closed to foot traffic.
Have you noticed how many metal marks?
No, if you actually close the section line is closed to everybody except adjacent landowners.
Okay.
So the landowners have the right to access their property yet. We'll quickly go through the process for closing section lines. again, with the petitioner who has an interest in adjoining land may submit a petition to close a section line to the county commission. Within 30 days of receiving the petition, the county commission shall set a hearing date, time, and location to hear the petition. This process actually puts some of the duty of the notice on the petitioner. The petitioner has to serve the notice on the adjacent landowners at least 10 days prior to the hearing, and he or she must also post the hearing notice in 3 places within the township or county for that same amount of time. There is a section of code that dispenses of notice. Notice may not be required of at least 70% of the qualified electors that have adjoining land sign the petition. But those who did not sign the petition and whose land borders the highway or roadway that's going to be closed must still be served the notice. And again, and I don't think this happens very often at these meetings where there's a closure, but at the hearing, the board must make the determination that there is a public benefit to closing the road, and it must be one of the previous 4 reasons for closing it. So it isn't such an easy process. The board actually, there is no avenue for the board to actually close a section line itself. The law requires that a petitioner who is an adjacent landowner actually petition the commission to close the section line. It's kind of it's a difficult or not a simple process, and it's intentionally not a simple process because the public deserves the right to travel on these section lines.
Okay, I got a question for you.
For a presentation on the roadways and section lines today, if Larry has something to share with you guys, I will quickly look up the questions regarding the fence and the gates while Larry's speaking with you guys.
Can you hear me, Jayme?
What's that?
Can you hear me clearly?
You're really fuzzy, Jason.
Fuzzy.
Are there any other questions?
Hold on, better now.
No, Jason, you're not.
Oh, what the world here?
That sounded better.
How about now?
Sounds good.
Well, I got a question here in Dickey County. I'm one of the landowners, and I got the other 2 landowners on board to close the section line between the 2 townships, Ellendale and Van Meter. So do I even have to petition those guys if I want to close that section line off due to a washout on the center of it?
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to hear the first part of the question.
See, I'm one of the landowners, and I've got the other 2 landowners. We're 100% on closing that section line between us. That's between Ellendale Township and Van Meter Township. Do I still have to petition those other 2 neighbors of mine, or just go straight to the county?
What you'll have to, I mean, if those other landowners sign on to the petition, it makes it easier. Especially if they sign on and they don't oppose it, I think that it would be in your best interest to speak with them and get them to sign on to your petition. You don't have to have them sign on, but if they don't, I would guess that the commission would ask them what their thoughts are, and like I said, it would just be easier, I think, to have those others sign on.
Okay, I was just curious about that because I've been trying to get a friend of mine to get me a template for a petition to send to both townships, Ellendale, Van Meter, and then the commissioners.
Gosh, I know there's an attorney that's working on that process right now for that Nelson County situation out of Fargo. Lee Grossman's working on that out of Severson, Wagaman, and Lebo. I actually just spoke with him today about it, but I don't know of anybody else that would have a template off the top of my head. How about yourself, Larry? Would you know?
I haven't heard of anything on that.
Craig, I see your question about having a farmer that applied for a permit to cross the road drain tile. I would say that he was in violation of 24, I think it was 24/702, without getting the permission of the township. Regardless if he owns both sides of the road, it's still a public right of way. And he owns the property. He's not wrong about that, but he's not the owner of the road, I guess, if that makes sense. He still needs to ask permission of the township.
Yeah, well, his actions are impeding the ability of the public to use that road if there's a water issue. Had a couple of calls today, just today. One a landowner from up in Williams County. He's angry at his township up there because they didn't mow his road. He said they mowed everybody else's road in the township but mine. I explained to him that that's the adjacent landowner's responsibility. If he doesn't do it, the township can have it done and charge it against your taxes. Well, he didn't like that news. The other one was a little bit more serious. It seems there's a case in I don't have what county that was. Two members of the township board got together and blocked a ditch that's uphill, so the water cannot run downhill onto their land. So it's impounding water upon the third board member's land. So that's when I did give that township officer Jayme's numbers. He'll be calling you, Jayme.
Okay.
Try to sort that one out.
I'm likely going to send them to the water board for something like that.
Yeah, well, he wanted to know the association's position on that, so.
Isn't that modifying the shoulder of the roadway, which becomes township issue? And I have such a situation I forgot to ask about, but we had a farmer modify the shoulder of the road basically to make an approach. It's definitely not a real approach by any means, but he re-sloped the shoulder to make it easier for him to drive in and out of his field. And I thought that had to be done with township approval. Is that correct, that we need to approve such situations?
I believe you're right. That is the ditch is part of the right of way and it's part of the road structure.
So I would be in agreement with that.
So in my situation, I mean, the farmer actually went, beyond what he was allowed to do. He modified the section line further on. Then on the other end of the field, he modified the ditch. The section line he called, we said, yeah, you can modify the section line as long as you pay for it and follow the rules. But modifying the ditch, the approach to the road, he's not allowed to do without our approval. And in your situation where they modified the ditch to block the water would be the same situation, wouldn't it?
It probably is, yes. Now, they probably installed a dry fill, which is the driveway without a culvert. Is probably what they did, and it's not allowing his water to run. He said at one time there was a drop structure in there and it washed out, and rather than fix it, they just filled it up. So, unfortunate situation when you got a fight between the board members. Had a call a week or so ago. A landowner called to access the farmstead. They've been going across a field because the road or the section line is impeded by trees. And they have their own equipment. They're going to remove the trees and restore that road, or at least to open the section line up. The township doesn't want any part of it. They don't want to add that road to their list or anything. So I don't know why the township is dragging their feet on that if the landowner is willing to remove the trees and open the section line. That was in Cass County. Oh, that's okay. We also have a couple
I'm not
of
quite sure how to help you with that.
Alexa, stop. Let her answer all our questions. Kathy Freelick, representative from up in District 15, is working on a bill to introduce in the special session that would allow that if a township is asking for 18 mills, it will qualify them for the funding, which is lost if you aren't levying 18 mills. If that's the way you're, because of revaluation, the levy falls short of 18 mills, so you don't get qualified for the prairie dog and the flex fund. But this would allow that you would still qualify even if you came in at 17.99, because you would ask for 18 mills, but couldn't get it because your dollars requested fell a few bucks short. So hopefully you can get a solution for that. That involves District 15 involves Ramsey County, and there were 6 townships up there that happened to.
How was golfing? Did you golf today? Golf? Are you having some chili mac?
There, got that out of there. Anybody else have any other questions?
No, but I'd be in favor of that 18 mil law being changed. It's ridiculous the way it is. Everything gets reevaluated after our budgets are in. It's kind of late to make changes at that point.
Exactly right. That's the reason for it.
And also this the need for this September meeting to talk about our budget. It seems like that should go back to the way it was before. We should support changing that.
We are already in discussions with the Tax Reform and Relief Committee to accomplish that before we even knew that there would be a special session. I doubt that they will take that into I haven't heard that anybody's working on a bill draft for that. They really want to keep the focus of the special session narrow. They don't like to bring in a whole lot of extra topics, so I don't know what we can get accomplished on any more projects. So,
Larry, do you want to clarify that on the gate closure on a section line?
yes, a gate may be placed across the section line with permission of the Board of Township Supervisors. And that's not a permanent approval. That can be rescinded at any time by the board.
And it can't be locked either.
Right, it cannot be locked. Any more questions?
I've got one here. Years ago, a neighbor didn't want, land got sold, which was landlocked, basically because of sloughs. Anyhow, the section line getting to it went through a neighbor's pasture. So he, instead of the man building a road to his property on the section line, the man that owned land on both sides of the land gave him easements on the east end of the property to build a road to his property. So it goes a quarter mile. How does that lay out now in this day and age? It was an agreement between the two to grant access to his property. But now that the land has been sold again, actually sold to the grandson of the person that actually initially gave the land for the road. Now they're signaging it as a private road. So would it be a section line or is it a private road?
Was there a easement filed? Or was that just a
Before
handshake?
my time, I was just a little filler back then.
Yeah, well,
Anybody that was involved in it is gone.
Yeah, I think that there's more information that's needed to give a good answer to that Tom, because if there was an easement recorded, that probably changes the answer.
well, there's a couple of questions. Was there an easement filed, and has the township been maintaining this road?
No. No, it was privately maintained all these years.
Okay, well, then it would probably, is it used by the public or?
Well, it is used, but the signage on it now says private road. And I'm just wondering whether that's right or wrong.
I think it depends, Tom, and that's a crappy answer to give you.
Yeah.
But it depends on some other questions, like Larry said. Because there could potentially be an easement by prescription. There could be an easement if it was recorded. There could be an easement by prescription. It just depends on the facts of the case, and without knowing those, I don't know if we can give you an answer.
Okay. I'm going to say that there probably isn't, because at that time goes down the quarter line. At that time, my grandpa owned the land on the east side of the quarter line, and he wouldn't give him any land to build a road. So the first quarter mile is on the west side of the quarter line. And then when it gets to this guy's property, then it jogs over and goes down the center of the quarter line.
There's a case right now, up in Pembina County that's kind of addressing the same issue. And it's set for trial in December. It might be able to give you a little bit better information after that case is heard for trial in December, because it's kind of the same situation. There's a family that owned land, and this road was used by the public. And the land was transferred from a grandfather to a grandson, and who closed it, who gated the road off. And the township in Pembina County, I believe it is suing to get access back to that road. It's set for trial sometime in December.
Okay. To the east of me in Logan Township, they refused to take care of their section line. It was actually a pretty good road at one time. It was maintained and whatnot. Then one party got on the board and didn't like people driving past his land, so they haven't done anything for 30 years probably. Now it's impassable. What can a guy do there?
Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing that requires a township to maintain a section line. If you're, like, I guess we talked about earlier, if you're using it to access two pieces of your own land for agricultural purposes, you can petition to improve it yourself. But there's nothing that would require the township to take care of that road.
No, when we have Mark talking about safety and whatnot, he says we are required to remove trees and all rocks and any obstacle that is on a section line for safety reasons. So I disagree with you there.
I guess I would have the position that they could sign it. If there's obstructions on it or hazards that the township knows about, that could create issues or legal issues if someone were to get hurt. But the township isn't required to make a section line passable. So I guess my answer would change with you adding that if there's rocks and trees blocking it. If there's obstructions or potential hazards, they probably should sign it that the road is closed and block it off. They're still not required to make that road passable, but I think that the township would have a responsibility to make sure that the hazards are marked and knowable by anybody that would pass in that road.
Okay, anybody else got any questions?
Well, my question's a little different. When the gentleman asked about a petition, are there templates for letters when you have to send out to individuals like that didn't mow their ditch or don't clean up their property?
You might be able to get one from your county public works or from the highway superintendent. The county sends them out frequently for road ditches, I know. But I don't think that we have any templates, do we, Larry?
We have never developed sample letters for that. Oh, no, we don't have that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else anybody wants to talk about or ask about?
Craig had typed in a question there about, I don't know, Craig, can you explain it? Driving around obstruction on a section line? Craig, if you're talking, you're on mute.
I think I understand. I think I know what Craig is asking. So I'll touch on it a little bit. I think you're talking about an easement by prescription. I believe actually in North Dakota it's 20 years. There's some elements that must be met for an easement by prescription. That there's continuous use. So it's uninterrupted use for that 20 years. It's open and notorious. And what that means is that the use must be visible and obvious so that the property owner is aware of it. Must be adverse to the property owner's interests, so it must be without his permission from the property owner. Really indicating that you would be treating the property as your own. And also exclusive use that the owner or you must have used that property exclusively, not sharing it with the public or the owner. Likely you would have to either get the landowner to still sign off on an easement or have the courts to declare something like that. And it would either take a trial or some sort of summary judgment action in a legal action. And I guess that's kind of what that Pembina County case is dealing with right now, is that the township has sued for kind of an adverse possession or an easement by prescription situation where that roadway was used by the public for many years.
Can you hear me now or not?
Yes.
Okay. We have a landowner that has a section line that is unpassable. So for the last 70 years, the public has been going around this area that is unpassable, and they go right back to the section line. It's only maybe 400 feet that they're on his property, and then they go back to the section line. He's wanting to close that passage where they come around, and he's going to put a fence up or so forth. But he wants the county to improve that section line so that they don't have to go in his field anymore. Is the county responsible to put that or to make that passable?
I don't believe. Go ahead, Larry.
Is this a county road, or why is the county involved if it's a township road?
Well, it's not a township road, it's just a section line.
So it still would be the county wouldn't get involved with something like that. It would be the township, who would. But the township doesn't have a duty to, I guess, repair that. They can if they want. If the township, I guess it would, in order to prevent him from fencing that off, and not allowing people to pass, it would require likely judicial intervention, and someone from the public or the township suing, for that adverse possession or that easement by prescription.
Would it be best to leave it up to the courts to decide then?
Well, I guess I'm not going to give legal advice in this situation. I guess tell you what I would do or what would be the best. I guess the options would be to either allow him to fence it off and find an alternative avenue, or someone could sue that landowner for I guess to keep it as an easement.
There's about 4 other landowners that use that from the main road to their pastures and fields.
Jayme, is it not, after so many years of a trail through a field, it becomes permanent section line, so to speak?
Well, and that's exactly what I was talking about, was an easement by prescription. But in order for that, I guess in order to do something about that, if someone closes the land off, you would have to litigate that. I mean, they're just not going to say, oh yeah, you have an easement by prescription, I'm going to give it up to you. You're going to have to go into exactly like that Pembina County situation. It's likely going to have to be litigated.
Right. You're going to have a judge bang a gavel and sign off on that to make it official.
Right. You just can't. I mean, you can make the claim that it's an easement by prescription, but you making that claim, it's not enforceable. It would actually have to be litigated.
Well, this is why we've always encouraged, in cases where we have a meandered road, that while you have an agreeable landowner, should get an easement filed. You can't depend on the heirs or subsequent owners being agreeable. So best to get it on paper as soon as possible.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Larry. I guess I use the saying, it's good until it isn't, or it works until it isn't, or it's okay until it isn't. You may have a handshake agreement between two landowners who have been neighbors or friends for 50 years, but at some point that land may change hands and that agreement may not be good anymore. Or that landowner may not have cared. He may have used the same road to get around a slough on a section line or a washout on a section line or whatever, and not said anything and didn't care that other neighbors were using it. And at some point, if you have someone that comes from out of the area, they might care and they might close it off.
Right. Anything more on that or any other topics you want to bring up questions tonight? You have something more there, Craig?
No, that does me for tonight. Thanks for the education, though.
So Grant has a couple questions. The first one is speaking about the fence. If there is permission from a commission or from a township, I guess from a commission or from the township, I guess in this situation on a section line, the section line can be gated off, but it has to be able to be opened by the public. Grant, to answer your other question about how a township doesn't have duty to repair section lines, not a section line is open to public travel. That doesn't mean that it's open for it's going to be a smooth highway. It's cost prohibitive for a township to be able to improve every section line. They have to make sure that they're free from hazards or safe, I believe. There is that duty. If there's a hazard, the township officers know about a hazard, that they have to make sure it's safe and free from hazards. But that doesn't mean that every township road is going to be able to be traveled at 50 miles an hour, or every section line is going to be able to be traveled at 50 miles an hour. It's just not practical. Anybody else have any questions?
I got one more for you. What's your position on an established section line? We have one here that it's fenced, actually 33 feet either side of it for at least 5 miles. Well, now all of a sudden, some hunting app claims that the section line is on the east edge of this established section line. What's your feelings on this?
Well, I guess I wouldn't trust either one of their measurements, to be honest with you. If there's a fight, maybe they'll have to have it surveyed. But I can show a lot of examples where a section line is on one side, or that I shouldn't say a section line. A section line is where the section line is. But if the trail is, I can show you hundreds of examples within 10 miles of my farm where the trail is on either side of a section line. Just because the trail is there doesn't mean that's where the boundary line is at, and just because the hunting app is there saying that the boundary line is in a different position, I guess in my opinion, if there's an argument over where the boundary line is, it needs to be surveyed.
Well, I'm saying that these fences for 4 or 5 miles are all in line with the section line on either side, east and west side of the section line. But then when you have trouble, the deputy sheriff goes by a hunting app instead of going to a legal.
Well, like I said, the fences could be off, Tom. The hunting app likely isn't right. The fences might not be right. I mean, it just because there's a trail in the spot or a fence in the spot, I think you have to go back and have a survey or find the markers, because I don't think you can rely on either one of them to determine where the boundary line is at, in my opinion.
Okay.
Was there an injury so that they were trying to find out whose property it was on? Or what? Why did the sheriff get involved?
This was the party that fenced off the section line.
Okay.
I guess
That's nothing to my land.
if there's a fight over boundary, or I wouldn't use a hunting app. I wouldn't use where the previous fence was at. I mean, I think the only answer that I can give you with some assurance would be that you should have it surveyed.
I got one for you. So on the right of ways and stuff on the section line, is that from the property line to property line?
So the 33 feet extends on each side of where the property boundary is, correct?
If it's a section line.
Right.
Okay.
No, what I was, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
What I
Go
was
ahead.
trying to get to was, see, I've had my land surveyed and I have my property pins put in. So that'd be what, 16 feet to the center of the road, and then another, what, 16 feet or whatever it comes out to the neighbors?
The right of way, or the statutory easement, is 33 feet on each side of the boundary line on a section line. So it's 66 feet wide.
So it'd be like from my property, 33 feet in, and then another 33 to the neighbors, correct?
Correct. So on each side of the property boundary, it's 33 feet on each side of it.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions out there? Well, we've passed the 9 o'clock hour. If there's no more questions, thank you all for joining us tonight. Hope you found some good here tonight, and big thanks to those that participated in the discussion.
A question on an unrelated to section line topic. Is there a calendar in our website here that says ditches have to be mowed by this date, hay bales have to be moved from roadways by this date, the annual meeting has to be done by this date? I mean, just of all the things that the township is supposed to take care of, and the dates, like this meeting that's supposed to be between the 7th of September and 7th of October. You know, I don't even know all the things that we should have on a calendar. Would be handy. I don't know if anybody's got such a thing.
Well, we've never had it on our calendar. I guess that could be added.
No, I don't even know what the dates are. I just know that there are dates when the roads have to be mowed, and there are dates when the hay bales have to be mowed, but I don't know what the dates are. And
The mowing date is September 15th. The Board of County Commissioners may require an additional mowing by August 1st.
it's
That
optional.
requires county action.
Some of those dates are in the back of our book, the dates of the meetings that are necessary in the back of the green book. There's a page back there.
Okay.
Nothing about the mowing out there, and
No, the meetings.
it also does not have anything to do with the with that wonderful budget hearing that we have to have.
Yeah. And I think the hay has to be removed from the ditch by November 1st, but I don't know if that's in our book, or is that a county rule or state rule? I don't know. So Maybe it's just a township thing in our or a county thing in our area. I don't know.
Oh, we can look into that, and if there's a statewide date, we can definitely put it on our calendar.
Just thought if I'm confused looking for it, there must be other townships confused looking for it also, I would guess.
Well, that's a given.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, any more questions? Well, again, thank you for joining us, and we'll endeavor to have another session of this the second Tuesday of September. Hopefully that'll work out for everybody this time. So one last chance for another question before we say good night. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Well, good night, all. Thanks a whole bunch for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank
Larry.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jimmy.
You're welcome. Have a good night.